населения такое соотношение в мировой военной истории один к одному. Кстати, когда НАТО бомбило Югославию, бомбило Белград, соотношение было 1 к 2. То есть на каждого военнослужащего погибло 2 гражданских жителя Югославии, потому что бомбардировки носили ковровый, квадратный, как угодно характер и умудрились разбомбить даже посольство Китая в Белграде. И вот нынешняя операция России абсолютно точечная, абсолютно филигранная, удары исключительно по местам расположения военнослужащих Украины и националистических бандформирований с минимализацией, абсолютной минимализацией жертв среди гражданского населения. Я видел пропорцию 1 к 5, вот сейчас по Украине, не знаю, насколько она выверена, но я думаю, что она близка к истине. На каждого гражданского 5 гибелей среди военных, и это тоже очень много, это тоже очень прискорбно, но это говорит о том, что нету ударов по населенным пунктам, нету массовых зачисток неугодных. Если все это имеет место, то только со стороны, только по инициативе украинских вооруженных сил, украинских бандформирований. Это то, что произошло в Буче, и это совершенно точно будет разоблачено и будет доказано. А в том, что касается последующих провокаций, да, есть все больше информации о том, что они готовятся. Да, есть информация о том, что провокации будут в том числе с неизбирательным применением оружия массового поражения, в частности, химического оружия, ну а не исключено и бактериологического. Напомню, что мы сейчас очень серьезным образом в российском парламенте ведем расследование деятельности американских биолабораторий на территории Украины, и появляется все больше и больше информации, что там велись разработки в военных целях, и вот не дай бог сейчас эти разработки могут получить практическое применение. Еще раз повторю, буду рад ошибиться.
Константин Иосифович, у меня печальная новость. Умер Владимир Владимирович Жириновский. Об этом Вячеслав Володин, спикер Госдумы, заявил. Мы приносим соболезнования родным, близким. Это человек-легенда, и я думаю, что он войдет в историю. Он, кстати, многие вещи предсказал по поводу Украины. Вы, наверное, тоже хотели бы 2 слова сказать, да, по этому вопросу?
Спасибо за эту возможность. Вечная память. Один из ярчайших политиков современности. Я с ним вместе, что называется, бок о бок, работал в 4 составах Государственной Думы с 3 по 7. Знал его, разумеется, не только как трибуна, но и, что называется, в повседневной работе. Мы совершенно точно не во всем соглашались, но нельзя не признать и его компетентность, и самостоятельность его мышления, и действительно удивительный дар прогнозирования. При всем различии политических позиций нам будет его очень не хватать в нашей современной политической жизни. Это большая утрата для всех нас. Искренние слова соболезнования всем родным и близким Владимира Вольфовича.
Да, очень жаль, очень жаль. Еще раз тоже приносим свои соболезнования. И, безусловно, мы, конечно, много, наверное, уже сегодня будем говорить об этом явлении. А пока спасибо большое, Константин Иосифович. Это был зампредседателя Совета Федерации Константин Косачев. Мы обсуждали высылку российских дипломатов и провокацию в Буче. Итак, сегодня после тяжелой и продолжительной болезни скончался лидер ЛДПР Владимир Жириновский. Об этом сообщил спикер Госдумы Вячеслав Володин. На прямой связи с Охотного ряда Мария Слободянская. Мария, как отреагировали депутаты?
Да, здравствуйте. Ну, на самом деле атмосфера в Государственной Думе сейчас невероятная. Я думаю, такого никто не ожидал. Люди не понимают, журналисты пытаются выяснить что-то, спросить у депутатов, но, конечно, все находятся в состоянии шока. Надо сказать, что пленарное заседание прервалось. Депутаты в стандартном режиме сегодня начали его в 12 часов и рассматривали законопроекты, но после уже спикер Государственной Думы Вячеслав Володин сообщил эту трагическую новость и сказал, что после долгой и продолжительной болезни скончался лидер ЛДПР Владимир Жириновский. Я напомню, ему было 75 лет. Ну и предлагаю сейчас посмотреть, как спикер Государственной Думы сообщил эту новость депутатам.
Только что сообщили, после тяжелой и продолжительной болезни скончался Владимир Вольфович Жириновский. Давайте почтим его память. Уважаемые коллеги, есть предложение прервать нашу работу. В 14 часов продолжим заседание.
Ну вот, как сказал Вячеслав Володин, заседание продолжится в 14 часов, а сейчас депутаты разошлись, может быть, по фракции, может быть, их собрал спикер Государственной Думы, если об этом не сообщили, но, очевидно, безусловно, эту новость парламентариям нужно сперва обсудить в более узком составе, и наверняка уже после этого будут звучать и заявления, которые будут сделаны перед журналистами, наверняка будет сказано много очень хороших и добрых слов, потому что человека, как Владимир Жириновский, таких в Государственной Думе совсем немного. Вот сам Вячеслав Володин в своем телеграме написал, что его личность настолько масштабна, что без него трудно представить историю развития политической системы современной России. Ну а лучшая его характеристика и лучшая оценка его деятельности — это поддержка избирателей, которая, конечно, есть у ЛДПР. Это доказывает то, как долго эта партия находится в Государственной Думе. Но надо сказать, что действительно Владимир Жириновский был таким старожилом в Государственной Думе. С 1989 года он был членом ЛДПР, ну а уже с 90-го года, с 31 марта, является председателем Либерально-демократической партии России. И надо сказать, что, конечно, был абсолютно в каждом созыве. Он был несколько раз и лидером ЛДПР, и заместителем председателя Государственной Думы, чередуя эти должности между собой, но неизменно являлся такой глыбой этой партии и, по сути, главным ее лицом. Надо сказать, что Владимир Жириновский также в качестве политического лидера фракции принимал участие в многих президентских выборах многих годов. Это тоже рекорд такой для политика и неизменно представляет.
What are the main melodies? What are the chords, the bass lines?
I counted
it more as a first step in energy sanction, as a more symbolic move, saying we don't shy away from energy sanctions anymore. But the real implications of a coal import stop from Europe for Russia will be very limited, as will be the implications on European coal consumption.
Georg Tackmann of the Bruegel Institute, thank you for your insights. We'll look for China now. 26 million people confined to their homes and no end in sight. Following a public uproar, Shanghai officials have now allowed parents to stay with children infected with COVID-19, but the full lockdown, which started in parts of China's largest city 10 days ago, has been extended.
Images almost identical to the beginning of the pandemic 2 years ago. Shanghai's residents have been ordered to stay at home. Only supermarkets and pharmacies are still open. For this fish processing factory, the financial toll is catastrophic. According to its supply records, fish was delivered and processed on March 22nd. Since then, production lines have stood still.
2 weeks ago, revenue was just 50,000 yuan, which wasn't even enough to pay my staff.
From 50,000 yuan, about 7,500 euros, that turnover is now zero. The state-owned bank has issued the factory a low-interest loan worth 450,000 euros. Its manager hopes it'll be enough to keep the company afloat during the lockdown.
So I had no access to cash because of the outbreak, and then suddenly this loan provides a lifeline.
No one knows how long the lockdown will last. Even with very low case numbers, Chinese authorities impose curfews, mass testing, and seal off entire cities. The case now in Shanghai. State media is reporting that these measures could reduce news to zero within 2 weeks. This is also the hope of the owners of shuttered companies and stores, who all fear for their businesses.
Let's get more of this from DW's So Sung Han in Taipei. So, 26 million people on lockdown. How are they reacting?
People's frustration is growing, and it's shocking to see residents of different buildings chanting slogans like "Lift this restriction" or "Give us food," or "We will die from hunger." We also see small rioters trying to rush out to get healthcare, food, and other life necessities. Many more people took to Chinese social media to share their stories. In some extreme cases, threats or self-harm or violence were reported. It's really tough for the government to handle because not just the general public, but the medical staff, police officers, middle-level or senior officials are disgusted by the total lockdown. People just cannot stand it anymore.
And so, with an entire city population confined to their homes, does this mean nobody is out working?
Yes and no. No one is out, but people are still working. In fact, before the total lockdown from March 30th, employees of many firms already set up tents in their offices, or they were put into food and housing in the factory mode with bunk beds in the factory and showers in the toilets. After the total lockdown, the government sent drones to warn anyone who leaves a building. So for most industries, working from home is an option, or they have to implement closed-loop production with employees living, working, and traveling only between 2 points within the factory area. So they are not out, but working.
So let's try to look at the bigger picture here. Economists are predicting this lockdown will cost Shanghai more than 3.5 percentage points in economic growth this year. What is it likely to mean for China's economy as a whole?
Shanghai is the largest and most populous city in China. It's the most to its GDP, along with Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. There are reports saying that if Shanghai is closed for 2 weeks, the impact on China's GDP for that month would be about 2%. If it is closed for 1 month, then loss is roughly 4%. China is likely to struggle reaching its growth target of 5.5% this year. It will seriously undermine the confidence of foreign investors and discourage many potential investors. And many foreign companies in Shanghai will have to consider the risk of repeated disruptions or restrictions in the logistics supply chain and choose to downsize or even relocate.
And with the economic toll of its zero COVID strategy mounting, is China likely to stick to this policy?
Yes. One recent commentary piece on the official newspaper explains the logic behind it. China's zero COVID strategy, compared with the idea of coexisting with the virus, is on the surface a battle of ideas, strategies, but in essence, it is a battle of systems, national power, governance capacity, and even civilization to the Beijing authority. The statement shows that the Chinese Communist Party leadership sees health prevention and epidemic prevention as a battle with the West. Chinese President Xi Jinping wants to use it as a tool to realize his personal achievement at all cost.
DW correspondent So Sang-Han in Taipei. So thank you. And less than 2 weeks before Easter, Italy's Ferrero is recalling Kinder chocolate eggs in 7 European countries over possible links to salmonella. Dozens of infections have been detected in several parts of Europe and the UK, although they are not proven to stem from the toy-filled treat. In fact, the EU Health Agency did not mention Ferrero or any other company, but warned that the reported cases were mostly among children under 10 years old, many of whom had consumed the chocolates. And here's a reminder of our top story at this hour. For the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the European Commission looks at directly hitting the country's all-important energy sector with an import ban on Russian coal and an option long off the table, as of much of Europe's energy depends on such imports. That's our show for now. For more, check out our website at dw.com/business or DW News on its YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a successful day.
My life back. Tanya's escape from war.
I lost my home in 2014 in Donetsk because Putin and his army occupied my hometown. I lost my home for the second time this month in Kiev because attacked whole Ukraine.
А кто нацистов в школе воспитал?
Ситуация в Украине.
Peace? Peace is a utopia. Even if there's no war raging where you are, that doesn't mean there's peace. Security. Yesterday I escaped from the war. Today I'm safe. But I don't believe it'll be safe here tomorrow. War. War takes life. It kills people. But the war has also taken away the life that millions of Ukrainians had before the war. I'm Tanya, and I'm 31 years old. I'm Ukrainian. I don't call myself a refugee. I don't like that word. I live in Kiev, in the district of Solomyanka, near a park. My husband and I built an apartment there 2 years ago. It's become home for me. Ever since I moved from Donetsk, I felt like I had no home. My husband's name is Dima. We've been together for 8 years. I love him very much. I work on education projects with young people. And I make films about important social projects. I love parties. We often host parties and have lots of visitors. I even have a disco ball. I really love our balcony. I wanted to make it beautiful with lots of flowers. A place where I could relax after work. This sense that you have when life is peaceful, where you think about what you'd like to eat, or how great the weather is. All that was wiped out in a single day.
I've decided to conduct a special military operation. Whoever tries to stand in our way or create threats for our country should know that Russia's response will be immediate and will lead to such consequences that you have never encountered in your history. This is not designed to harm the interests of Ukraine or its people.
My husband told me I needed to get up. He said missiles had struck near Boryspil airport. I was confused. I couldn't believe it. I thought, is this a bad joke? I asked my husband if it was really true. Did Putin really do it? My husband told me it was real and not fake. He said we needed to get ready and to get to the air raid shelter. I couldn't eat anymore or take a shower for fear that I might miss the sirens and not get to safety in time. We had to go to the air raid shelter 2 or 3 times a day. The more we had to go there, the more I became convinced that I would have to leave my country. I talked to my husband and together we decided that I shouldn't stay, that I needed to get to safety. Now I'm in Germany. My grandmother is called Tanya too. My grandfather wanted to name me after her. She's 87 years old now. She's incredible and even has fans on Instagram. Grandma, you look so beautiful today. Happy New Year.
I always look beautiful, or I did.
How do you like my outfit?
It looks great. Is it made of silk?
Yes, it's silk.
You look beautiful.
You look beautiful.
Yes, it's for New Year. And then Christmas.
As a young child, she survived the Second World War. In 2014, she had to flee the war in the east of Ukraine. Now she's in Kiev. And once again, war is raging around her. I think 3 wars are too much for one life. I want her to come here so that I can take care of her. I don't want anything to happen to her. She can't cope alone. She needs help to get to an air raid shelter. And there aren't many shelters in Kiev. My parents are now living with her in Kiev. So my dad and my grandma are all living in a one-room apartment. My grandma can't walk right now. She broke her leg just before the war started, so she's lying in bed. And they don't want to leave Kiev. Hi, Demoya.
Hello, darling.
How are you?
Okay, and you?
Okay. Did you have to go to the shelter today?
Yes, once. And then again later.
About my parents. How can we get them out? Did you find anything out today?
Yes. I found out about a rescue vehicle.
How many days would they be on the road?
Because it's a rescue service, they drive without stopping.
Dad, I can't hear you properly. But I understood that they don't stop anywhere?
The trip's less than 20.
Did you tell my mom?
Yes, I called her. She's worried about your grandma's condition and isn't even sure if she wants to leave herself. She says she still needs to think about it. She's worried that something could happen to Grandma on the way. And what would she do then?
Okay, I'll call her tomorrow and I'll talk to Grandma too. Thank you. It's good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear you too. Bye. Love you.
Love you too. When Dima drove me to the border so that I could leave the country, I was worried that something might happen to him on the way back. When I wasn't there to help, I was so worried. I told him I was sorry for every time we'd ever argued. If I'd stayed with him, he wouldn't have to help our country, but taking care of me. If I'd stayed in Ukraine,